would introduce yourself.
My name is Chuck Stadler, and I'm running for U.S. Congress for the Michigan's 10th District. It covers from the area of northern Tip of Thumb to northern Macomb County. I have a website, www.chuckstadlerforcongress.com, and I am here to try to help make changes in the way that Congress is run, in that they don't get along, the Republicans and Democrats and the Tea Party, and it seems that like they just do not work together.
And what decided to get you to run for Congress? What got you to the race?
Okay, I do have a degree in business studies and accounting, and I'm a contractor, building contractor, and so I know, and I have Stadler Brooklyn Tax Service, so I know a little bit about what taxes and how people have to work with the businesses. And the biggest thing is we need to do is get our tax base up, and by doing that is by creating jobs. The biggest thing a person can do is we have a corporate tax rate of 35% in this country, which is one of the highest in the world. And to compete with the rest of the world, we need to get down to 20%. But we do have to close up corporate tax holes. But we also need to get a tax break for the small business, because the small businesses don't get a federal tax break. And the biggest thing they could do is cut a 10% tax credit for hiring new employees, and maintain long-term jobs. The biggest type of jobs these days are technical jobs. We do need to steer people toward that way of thinking, because we use technology in everything we do. I mean, our phones are to talk to somebody around the country, or your next door neighbor, or it might be you drive down the road and there's all high-tech gadgets for GPS. So biggest thing is we use technology in everything we do today. I mean, even our direct TV and everything is all through communications and technical.
Talk to me a little bit about what you think the role of congressional leaders would be in supporting local community growth. We have cities like the city of Flint, which are struggling with having a declining tax base and all that, and are struggling to turn its self down and all that. So what role can Congress have in helping support local communities and helping see them grow?
Well, the biggest thing is our infrastructure, because all businesses work off the infrastructure, your highways and how well the community looks. And the biggest thing is creating jobs, because we were one time 5th in the world in infrastructure. Now we are 25th in the world, because we've let our country go downhill, because we're too busy helping the rest of the world, and it's time we start helping ourselves. And you get people that are building roads and bridges, because some of our bridges are 50, 75 years old. So you start giving people jobs, and that puts money in the economy, that gets things going. If that's for large business or small businesses. So, and the small business person, I think we should have a 10% tax break for them for hiring new employees. We also should cut their tax rate by 20%. If we're going to compete in this country and compete in the rest of the world, we need to make changes, and this would help, like our small communities, bring money into it and revitalizing our cities and towns.
So make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Your focus would be on reducing the tax burden for
small businesses.
Small businesses, for individuals and all that. If that's the case, of reducing a tax base and all that means probably cuts up on Capitol Hill. Would you see the need for the U.S. Congress to make cuts a bit?
Cut our taxes and give tax breaks to large and small business, but the tax bases business for corporations should be cut from 35 to 20%, but this corporate tax should only be on the portion that they manufacture in this country, because the way we're going to expand our business is give tax breaks to make jobs in this country.
And if you make more jobs, then you have a bigger tax base, and you're bringing more revenue down.
And capital gains tax, we should eliminate the capital gains tax, because that puts a burden on our business. If we want people to invest in this country, you got to make it so we don't have to pay so much taxes just to invest.
Also on the Capitol Hill, as a member of Congress, you'll be working with the President, the U.S. Senate, and military leaders on trying to craft a comprehensive homeland security policy for the country, and addressing issues like the threat of terrorism from groups like ISIS. What is your perspective right now as far as U.S. policy, foreign policy, and is it working? Do we need to do more, go in a different direction?
Basically, we do. We got one thing. We got to secure our borders. Okay, you get a point where there's places around this country you can walk across the border with not even be stopped. You go, especially our northern border. You get like states in Minnesota. They got these booths set up where you walk in, you have your picture taken, and say I'm in the United States. And I mean, there's nobody watching some of these places on the border. So, I mean, who's going to stop in a booth and say, you know, I'm in your country? I mean, there's so many leaks and holes in this country that it's so easy to get across. I mean, they don't have, especially our northern border. I'm surprised they don't talk more about the northern border. I mean, we do have a southern border where we have partial fences, but we should have those permanent fences that go down in the ground where they can't burrow under the ground. That's how they get a lot of drugs through this country, is underground. They've got enough for to almost drive vehicles through it, especially to Southern California. So biggest thing is securing our borders. I mean, it costs money, but it also creates jobs too. So.
And groups like the president is currently evaluating a strategy for overseas threats like ISIS. We've been engaged in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. Are we doing enough in order to deter the threat of overseas groups that could grow into threats that are back here at the home?
Well, basically, we got to increase our security, like our borders, and in other ways, we got to track people that come back and forth from the Middle East to here. You get like countries, people like ISIS. We have that. We're having a bombing campaign right now. Biggest thing is, you know, they want to train their freedom fighters of Syria, but the biggest thing you could train them, these people to do is people that can show where, give communication to where the bombing can be. I mean, you got people on the ground that know the territory. If they could train them to direct aerial fight and bombing, we would be more precise in getting some of these ISIS people out, because you can bomb oil fields and you can bomb buildings and some of the heavier equipment, but if you could have somebody on the ground that direct the firepower, and you train some of the people that live in these areas of Afghanistan and Syria, then we would be more successful in our bombing campaign.
I'm going to go back to the issue that you brought up just a few minutes ago about securing our nation's borders and the nation's immigration policy. We have groups of migrant children that are now being held up in areas like Bay City and Michigan here and all that. What would you suggest needs to be done for the undocumented workers that are already here in the United States to address the nation's immigration policy? Would you send them back? Would you work on a path towards citizenship here with them? What should we do?
I would work on. It takes, I think it's around 15 years that it takes a person to become a citizen. We should maybe reduce that time, but but they also have to learn the English language. And if they got to learn it in their own country, fine. But because that's the main language in this country. But I think it takes too long to become a citizen. And one thing is, we have people in our area of the world. We should be helping our neighbors more than helping foreign countries that are overseas, like Europe and everything, because working with our neighbors would be a way of helping secure our borders by knowing who's entering this country. The biggest thing is so many people want to come over to this country. Maybe we should be helping our neighbor countries make it better for over there. So maybe it wouldn't be so much burden on our borders, because you get to countries like Mexico, you got very extreme rich and then you got the extreme poor. There's nothing in between. And maybe if we could help them provide financing to train, educate their kids, maybe they wouldn't want to come to this country. And if they do, they would be more favorable people coming if we do get our economy going, and the more jobs become available.
You just brought the word education. Here in the mid-Michigan area and all, you have some very high-performing school districts and all that, but you also have some lower-performing school districts that are near the bottom of state test scores and all that. What do you think the policy should be that would encourage high-performing school districts to continue to innovate and continue to do the types of things that allow them to be top-performing schools, but at the same time hold lower performing schools accountable and help raise the floor for them?
Well, the biggest thing is I did some research, and state of New York uses a lot of teachers' assistants. They specialize in certain classes, and that's what they would work under the main teacher of the class. What they do is they send them to, they have community college programs to make them so they can earn a teacher assistant degree, because it gets too costly by reducing class sizes, say 30 or 35 students. So the best thing we would do maybe have a teacher assistant. So if you have students that are having problems, you help that student along, because anytime a student gets lost in earlier grades, it affects as they go on to high school and college. So providing a teacher assistant, say in algebra or geometry or things like that, to help them along, because one teacher can't sit there and 35 students and help every student there is. I mean, some schools have programs where they take the students off into another classroom and help them, but by providing the student and teacher's assistants, you can improve the kids so they don't get lost on the way up the ladder going through their school systems.
Crime is a big issue, especially here in the city of Flint, where it consistently ranks among the top of all cities nationwide when it comes to crime rates and all that. What can the federal government do working with local communities to try to reduce crime rates?
I think one of the things to do is we do need more police officers and sheriff's department people to do this, but we will also need to change the way our punishment system in this country is. If you get a young kid that's 13, 14 years old and it's involved in crimes in these groups of criminals, I think by sending them to a boot type camp school for their education can help straighten out the child, and plus give them discipline, because many kids are too busy running the streets at night. It might be because their parents are working, but we do need a way to reduce the crime before they get into our prison systems. By providing that type of education to a person that's a troubled kid, we can make them learn and also give them the discipline they need, instead of expanding our prisons and just filling them up. Because right now we got overflow prisons and police department, jails. So if we the federal government provided financing for this type of programs, I think we would reduce crime in our cities.
You mentioned at the top of your, when you were introducing yourself and all that, one of the things that you wanted to address was the dysfunction in Congress and all that. What can one representative do to realistically break the logjam that we see up on Capitol Hill?
The biggest thing is that person can speak out. I know a lot of times when you get into Congress, you're the new person in the block, so you don't get too many committee things, beyond committees and everything. But the biggest thing is if you bring it out in our media, you almost have to, I hate to say it, but embarrass the people that are not doing their job to get the country straightened out, because we've had people been there so long that they just assume they're automatically going to get voted in. So the biggest thing is getting work done and helping this country out to grow and expand.
And then, if you were to be elected on it, what is the one issue that you would like to really try to tackle within your first 100 days? Maybe something that's not already getting addressed by Congress.
Well, the biggest thing is starting to get this country working, because we're too busy taking care of the rest of the world, and we've let our country go downward. So I would like to help co-sponsor a bill to first get a bill through for infrastructure, because those are some of the quicker jobs you can get going. And believe me, have that one bridge I think was in Minnesota that collapsed a few years ago, and there was a bridge down in Tennessee that collapsed a few years ago, and there was vehicles on there, so people lost their lives. So the biggest thing is getting infrastructure going, because that's the fastest way to create jobs. And then as the tax breaks for the for the small businesses and corporations, but we also need to well, I guess we need to, okay, we have companies like they're moving their corporate offices, like Burger King's moving to Canada, and some of our pharmaceuticals are moving overseas. Biggest thing you can do is so put a special tax on them for, if you want to avoid our taxes, put a law in there to say put a 30% tax on these companies that want to put, they want to do business here, but they don't want to pay the U.S. taxes. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are coming over here. You got Chinese companies over here. You got European countries. You know, their auto business is moving over here, but we do not give them the tax they need to pay the tax that we need to have them pay because they're earning money here. We get a lot of countries like Japan. They want to sell all our stuff here, but we are not allowed to sell over there. So you put an import tax on their products until they open their markup to us. You get countries like Japan, China that devalue the dollar to make their products cheaper. Well, you want to do that to us, you get a 30% tariff. You want to sell in our country, you follow our laws, and you know this is supposed to be a country. I mean, the country is supposed to have international trade, but they don't want to play fair. This free trade agreement is not working. So I mean, you get companies like the tire companies. They were making prices of tires lower than our country was doing. So we end up putting a tariff on their products to make our products cheaper.